Big company, millions of moving parts.
Hey, how you doing, man?
We all work very hard to ensure those moving parts are functioning as a means to very profitable end for all of us.
Have it smooth.
Hey, come close to the computer. Give me those eyes.
No!
That is a genuine dinosaur tooth.
She's gonna flip out. You're a good man, Mike. Is there someone at your door? Mike, what is that? Is everything okay?
We gotta go right now! I'll call you back.
Mayday, Mayday. This is Deepwater Horizon.
What's wrong?
Me towards the rocks.
Not now, baby.
We gotta get to the lifeboats right now.
My wife's name is Felicia.
And my daughter's Sydney.
And I will see them again. Do you understand me?
When you're making a movie about something like this, then it becomes much more about the individual experience, as an actor or as a cinematographer or anybody else on any job title. It really becomes about making sure that you make these families proud and you do these guys justice. And then everybody's working twice as hard for that, and everybody has that same goal. So it doesn't happen that often. I've been fortunate enough to experience it a few times, and that's why I continue to gravitate towards those kind of stories. But it's a special experience.
From the very beginning, when I first read it, I only was sent 49 pages. That's all I got initially. And I think I was really eager to see how it ended. But from the very beginning, you had this notion that there was something underneath the bottom of the sea that was gonna have its say.
The moment I took the role, there was a sense of responsibility. I mean, the moment that I decided to put myself in a role and in a film that can be controversial, that you are only telling one perspective, so you want to do the best you possibly can because not everybody knows that it's just one perspective, and so the responsibility is so great, but it is such an honor to do that, and so I just hope I did her justice, and I hope the families are proud, because that's end all be all what matters most.
I play a guy who worked on a rig, who was an ordinary guy who had to do extraordinary things, not only to survive, but to help others. And for me, that's an extremely compelling story to tell. That's always something I find very inspiring. Those are the movies that I want to make, those are the movies that I enjoy seeing, and those are the movies that, make me feel like I could, if need be, go out there and do something to make a difference.
For me, there's a difference, especially with action. I don't want the audience to feel like they can just sit back and watch the action, observe it. I don't want it to be a spectator sport. I want it to be an experiential event.
Mark Wahlberg, John Malkovich, Gina Rodriguez and director Peter Berg talking about Deepwater Horizon. Now, we both saw this on Thursday morning, thanks to our pals at Empire Cinema. Ryan, you kind of missed bits Wednesday night. You know what it's like. Some people, freshers, will sort of still be feeling the effects of that as well. But I did stay awake for the whole thing, and I'll tell you what it's about. Basically, Mark Wahlberg is part of a crew that is going into an oil rig to prepare it for extraction of oil off the Gulf of Mexico. He's got a crew that involves Kurt Russell, Gina Rodriguez, as you heard in that clip, and they are going there just to get ready for those who are going to, as his daughter calls, the sort of lamos who come and take the oil once they've done all the hard work. You've got this John Malkovich. He's a sort of head at BP who is very money orientated, very business focused, doesn't really care about how it's done, he just wants it done for the profit and the money. And he's joined by two other sort of suits who are there to oversee the operation and make sure that nothing goes wrong. Well, make sure that their money isn't harmed, basically. And what you've got is a lot of human stories there amongst this big rig full of different crew members, lots of people involved. And then tragedy strikes, as you might expect with a film like this, and it kind of puts everything into perspective, a lot of danger. And is, yes. So something quite unexpected happened on Thursday morning. Went into it thinking it would be just some kind of disaster movie, like Peter Berg's last film's Lone Survivor, which was kind of fine. I think it was okay. Mark Wahlberg was pretty good. Very similar to this, he starts as part of an ensemble cast, and then as the film goes on, it kind of picks a few people off, and he kind of emerges as the central hero. So this is a true story. It happened 6 years ago. It is the biggest oil disaster in U.S. history, and it needed to be told in a deserving way. These people have had a lot of trauma. People died. They had to present this in the most deserving and rewarding way for their bravery and their sacrifice. And I can, hands on my heart, say that it does that completely. And I was totally caught off guard by this. I was really surprised. I was very surprised. Now, Ryan, you said the bits that you saw were the important fiery bits.
Well, I mean, not necessarily. I think, it was sold as the true story of the heroes, and I think you really got to see the scale of what they were facing, because, I mean, the number one aspect for me that was just truly incredibly pulled off was just the way they pulled off the fire effects and the sound design, especially because you've got that sense of dread coming right from the start, because you sort of got you just hear the rattles of the vents, and you just hear these sounds that it's continue to escalate and escalate, and you're wondering when it's going to finally kick off, and then when it does, it's just an eruption of sound and metal and fury, and it's an orgy for the eyes and the ears.
I think that's not even half the film. That's a very small portion of the film. That's the kind of surface of it. That's what you'll have seen if you just look at it very closely and miss parts as you did. But it's not a dig. I'm just saying. There's two really crucial things that the film gets right. There's the enormity of it all, like you say, the way it presents the situation, the fire, the way it looks, the way it sounds. It's very engaging. Peter Berg says there, it doesn't want to be a film where you can just sit back and watch it. You've kind of got to be really involved, and it does that. It's very engaging, very involving. It drags you in. I think the fact that a lot of the conversations particularly are shot in cinema verite, which is the kind of fly on the wall style that you might have seen in the sort of documentaries, mockumentaries kind of thing, where the camera sometimes it'll be over the shoulder of somebody, it'll be kind of as if it's eavesdropping sometimes, it'll be lurking around, capturing conversations. There's a long period of the film where some people might criticise for being boring. I can see why people might say that, but I don't think it is. If you're willing to be engaged with the story, this whole sort of 20-30 minutes of the film is very important, because it sets up the humanity of the situation. That's the other big crucial thing. There's the scale and the size, and just how human it is. A lot of time is spent with these crew members who, in other films they might not have focused on. They seem like sort of very peripheral characters, but in this they're kind of very involved. You don't know who they are as such, but you do know that they're going to play an important part, as everybody does on that ship, on the rig. And as the tragedy strikes, because you've met these people and because you've seen the human aspect of their life, they're not just crew members. They are real people who, for something as needlessly it's a man-made disaster. It's a human disaster that's been caused by oil, which is, as we've learned over the past few years, it's such a trivial thing to lose lives over and start wars over. But that's kind of the point of the film. It's presenting these BP suits and people as the bad guys, as they are, as they are. They've managed to, on their hands, kill 11 people. The story is that they were charged with manslaughter and it was dropped just a year ago. So that's going to be quite a controversial and quite a topical thing to sort of discuss as the conversation about this film goes on. There's one particular shot as one of these BP guys who obviously wasn't expecting to be in this level of trauma and mess. He kind of thought he'd be there for his money, get his paycheck, just make sure everything went okay, come back, report his findings and say that's it. There's a bit where the camera in its sort of cinema verite style is going around observing people and watching people pull things at their legs, and people, nobody expected this to happen. And then the camera turns on him, and he is, covered in oil, and he just looks in front of him. And there's the American flag in the foreground.
I saw that. Yeah.
And the fire in the background. Yeah, and the people who are crawling around and, scrambling around trying to, survive. Like, that's the instinct to survive. And he kind of, he looks overwhelmed, and he kind of must know that it's his responsibility, his fault. And I think that's a very particularly powerful moment. It was very difficult to watch. I think, as I've said, there's the bits where people are, suffering for their life. People are, decapitated. People are pulling things out their legs. There's Kurt Russell particularly gets quite badly injured, and he is his face is very beaten and bloody by the end. And it's difficult to watch that. It's also difficult to watch the poor people who are on the the very front of the situation, who didn't expect it to happen, getting so needlessly killed. And I actually cried like a lot, and I that's why it's so unexpected. I didn't expect to be as involved, but I think the power of the film is that it engages with the characters who are family men. They're all people who are just there for a job. It's not anything political. It's nothing to do with BP. They are literally just crew members who have taken this job because it's a job, and nobody expects for them to die. It's such a a dangerous situation that they're doing, but they do it out of necessity, and it's quite incredible, especially at the end when you see the real people, and they're all, you know, family men, just American men who are serving for whatever reason, for just oil. It's ridiculous, really. It's an incredibly effective film, and I think you might accuse it of just being a very sort of emotion baity kind of film. You know, it pushes all the right buttons, but for me it didn't matter because I think it was earned. I think the whole situation and the way it was presented, the way it was plotted, and the way the conversations between the crew members felt real, that I didn't mind, that I kind of sort of gave into it and just sort of flooded with emotion because I think it earned it. I think it deserved it, and I think it's a must-see film, and I wasn't expecting to say that.
There you go.
Not expecting to say that.
From the first trailer, I wasn't expecting too much, to be honest, as well. But
no, I mean the first trailer has
There we
the scene where his wife is Mark Wahlberg's wife is played by Kate Hudson. We should add, and she's fine. Mother's Day has kind of scarred her a bit. I'm never going to get over Mother's Day. I don't think I ever will recover from that. But his wife and daughter are back home, and they have this scene at the start where it's the daughter is taking a project to school to sort of show off sort of what her father does. There's other kids, like one of the other kids is their dad works in a zoo, and he took a penguin into school one day. So she like one-ups the other kids by, you know, showing that her dad works in oil rigs, and she's got this thing with a Coke can and the straw, and they pour the honey into the can and it explodes. And that's in the first trailer, and it didn't look that hefty and weighty when we first saw it in the trailer, but in the actual film, it's just the beginning of a really much grander foreshadowing bit of story. That the scene, particularly towards the end, it's not really a spoiler. I say that Wahlberg survives, but his return to land after the big disaster is particularly traumatic, and that really set me off. I was holding him back, and at that point, that was it. The floodgates were gone, and especially because his reaction when he gets back, the people who sort of confront him, and he just kind of wants to just settle, and he can't settle because people are asking him questions, and, you know, why couldn't you save my son? And it's just, he did his best. He did his goddamn best. Yes, I really liked it. I thought it was very good. I think it's one to see. Definitely want to see. That's Deepwater Horizon. I will recommend it, Ryan. From what you saw.
Go for it.